Hey there, fellow detective. Welcome back to Killers Among Us. Today we are delving into the chilling case of the first female serial killer in Korea. You may be surprised to know that most serial killers in the world are male, but this killer broke that stereotype and committed her evil deeds without even touching her victims. Sadly, she was also the last female to be sentenced to death in South Korea. Let's look into the case, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button for more updates on true crimes cases. Today's story is about the first female serial killer in South Korea. Her name is Kim Sun-ja. In 1986, the Asian Games were held in Seoul, and South Korea surpassed its rival Japan to secure the second position. The margin between South Korea and China in first place was only one gold medal. Due to this outstanding achievement, the entire nation was in effective mode. Furthermore, with the Seoul Olympics taking place just 2 years later in 1988, the anticipation and excitement among the people were at an all-time high. It was during this national-wide celebration that an unprecedented series of poisoning murders began in Seoul. It started on the morning of October 31st. In Sindang-dong, Seoul, there's a woman in the 40s named Kim. One day, Kim Sun-ja approached Kim and suggested they go to the bathhouse together as part of their daily routine. So the two of them went out together and end up at a local sauna, or you can go jjimjilbang in Korean. It was a casual and relaxing place to spend time with friends, and it is very common in Korea, a cultural phenomenon that has been around for centuries. It can be found all over the country, and they are usually open 24 hours a day, making them a popular hangout spot for people of all ages. So, both of them had a great time relaxing, sweating it out, and taking a shower. Everything seems normal until it was time to leave. Kim Sun-ja took out a popular Korean medicinal drink called sanhwa-tang and handed it over to her, saying it was important to rehydrate after sweating. Kim, trusting her friend, drank the beverage even though it was bitter. It was around 10 a.m. Kim, who was in the changing room, suddenly complained of chest pain and difficulty breathing. Then, she experienced severe convulsions in the body. Foaming at the mouth, she collapsed on the floor. Upon witnessing this, the sauna staff immediately moved her to the nearby emergency room. But unfortunately, she passed away. Were notified, and they arrived at the scene. They conducted an investigation, questioning the sauna owner and the customers, but they couldn't find any remarkable or incriminating evidence. In an attempt to trace Kim's activities on that day, the police investigated the people around her, including family members, but there was nothing suspicious. Other than the statement from the neighbor, there were no other significant points of suspicion. However, the family made an unusual discovery. They noticed that the valuable pearl necklace and ring that Kim was wearing when she went to the bathhouse were missing. This led to the police to suspect Kim Sun-ja, who had accompanied her to the bathhouse, as a strong suspect. They investigated her, but she vehemently denied any involvement, claiming she had no knowledge of what had happened. Furthermore, the police couldn't find any crucial evidence related to the incident. Although there were numerous unanswered questions, forensic investigation techniques were not as advanced in the 1980s as they are today. As a result, the case remained unsolved. Afterward, 5 months passed. It's the morning of April 4th, 1987. This time, a woman in her 50s named John is going to Yeongdong-pu with Kim Sun-ja to collect money. John and Kim Sun-ja were both members of the same association, and Kim Sun-ja had borrowed 7 million won for Jung before. However, she hadn't repaid the money yet. Kim Sun-ja said, "I have some money to collect in Yangdong-pu today. Let's go together. I will give it to you to repay the loan." However, while Jung was on the bus passing near Seoul's Yongsan station, she suddenly experienced convulsion and grabbed her stomach before collapsing on the floor. Everyone was shocked. The driver quickly stopped the bus and rushed Jung to the hospital. But by the time they arrived at the emergency room, she had already passed away. Jung's address was in Sindandong, but since the incident occurred around Yangsan-gu, the jurisdiction fell under Yongsan Police Station for investigation. Initially, the police focused on questioning the bus driver and passengers, but they couldn't find any suspicious or worthy of suspicion. The family shed light on Jung's personal life, but she had no reason to commit suicide. However, during the investigation conducted by the Yongsan Police Station, they discovered that the middle-aged woman had recently died in the bathtub in Sindandong due to similar symptoms. They suspected a connection with Kim Sun-ja and resumed the investigation. However, once again, no evidence was found to arrest her. At this point, one might think that if someone experienced convulsions and died, they might have ingested something, leading to the ideas of performing an autopsy. However, in the 1980s, forensic investigation techniques were not as advanced, so autopsies were not commonly conducted. In the 1980s, the concept of autopsy was not readily accepted by families because it was seen as causing the deceased to die twice, and it was a decision that families find difficult to make. As Kim Sun-ja managed to evade the police investigation, she continued to commit more crimes. On March 27, 1988, in Kim Sun-ja's father's 70th birthday celebration, he suddenly felt dizzy and vomited while on the rail bus returning from Seoul. He lost consciousness and collapsed. It turns out that the incident occurred right before he boarded the bus after drinking a health drink given to him by his daughter. Mr. Kim, the elderly man, was taken to the hospital but passed away. The incident was treated as a natural death since he was old and the body was cremated after being prepared for a funeral. Shortly after his father's death, Kim Sun-ja and his 40-year-old sister met near the children's grand park. The two of them had a conversation and shared their pain. During their conversation, Kim Sun-ja gave her sister a health drink, and they drank it while talking before parting ways. Then, her sister sent a long text message and boarded a local bus to go home. Due to the drink, she also collapsed on the floor, as expected. She is taken to the emergency room but also ends up dying. Now Kim Sun-ja, without showing any signs of grief at her sister's death, stole her sister's handbag from the hospital, containing 10 million won in cash and jewelry worth 7 million won. At that time, Kim Sun-ja was in debt to her sister for about 10 million won. Interestingly, within a month, both her father and sister died in the same manner, attributed to the natural causes like cardiac arrest, just as her father's case was treated. This incident, classified as natural death within the family, does not raise suspicions or trigger a police report. Following these events, Kim Sun-ja feels that there are no more obstacles in her way. As the Olympic Games were approaching on July 8, 1988, Kim Sun-ja approached a 40-year-old woman named Song. She promised that she could help Song buy a good house at a lower price and asked if they should proceed. Song was then called into a separate room, where Kim Sun-ja explained that if they find a suitable house, they could sign a contract immediately in the spring. Song, being involved in the process, was asked for a deposit for 20 million won. Whether Song drank the health drink or not, Kim Sun-ja gave it to her and she disappears. On the way home on the bus, Song suddenly felt dizzy around Songbyeong-dong in Yongsan district and lost consciousness, tragically collapsing and dying. How long will this go on? Did it happen again this time? Thankfully, the body of Song is examined differently from the previous victims, and it is finally determined that she died from cyanide poisoning. The police launch an investigation, and it is revealed that the last person to see Song alive was none other than Kim Sun-ja. As the police dig deeper, they discover that in the past few months, everyone close to Kim Sun-ja, except for one person, has died after taking the bus and suffering an accident. The police also confirmed that Kim Sun-ja gave them a health drink. As a result, the police arrest Kim Sun-ja on charge of murder. At this point, Kim Sun-ja boldly denies her involvement and demands evidence, causing a commotion in the police station. She confidently asked, "Do you have any evidence?" She then continued by stating that except for the last victim's Song, all the other victims have already been treated as natural deaths. Therefore, they have either been cremated or already burned, resulting in a lack of crucial evidence that can prove her crimes. However, the clever police obtain a search warrant from the courts and raid Kim Sun-ja's house, where evidence pours out. During this time, they discover stolen jewelry and cash from the victims, especially the check issued by the last victim, Song, which led directly to Kim Sun-ja's account. Moreover, a decisive piece of evidence, a piece of cyanide, is found. This is the evidence they needed to prove the crimes at that time. The discovery of cyanide, well, it happened when a detective who was searching the house urgently went to the bathroom and noticed a small hollow space in a wooden pillar. Curiosity got the better of him, and he reached inside, grabbing a bundle of papers. When he pulled them out, he discovered a lump of cyanide about the size of a ping-pong ball. This cyanide was obtained by Kim Sun-ja from a relative's nephew who was involved in the pharmaceutical industry. Each time she poisoned her victims, she would take out a small amount of cyanide. However, this alone was not enough to pin all the charges on Kim Sun-ja. Eventually, the police started persuading the victim's family. In fact, at that time, even suggesting an autopsy to the families was a difficult proposition due to the circumstances of the era, not to mention the difficulty of exhuming bodies from graves for autopsy. However, through persistent persuasion from the police, the families eventually agree. Autopsies were conducted on the bodies, except for Kim Sun-ja's father, who had already been embalmed. The result revealed the presence of cyanide in the bodies. Kim Sun-ja immediately confessed to her crimes, crumbling under the weight of the evidence. Kim Sun-ja is sentenced to death for the murder of 5 people. On December 14, 1997, she became the last person in Korean history to be executed. Kim Sun-ja led a luxurious and gambling-filled lifestyle, often working at a cabaret. When she found herself short of money for the first time, she borrowed from people around her. Unable to repay her debts, she resorted to committing more crimes to obtaining greater wealth. It's disheartening to think that Kim Sun-ja would ruthlessly murder not only those close to her, but even her own family for her petty gains. Her actions earned her the title of a notorious serial killer, the first female one in Korea history. This is the story of Kim Sun-ja. remembered as one of the most infamous murderers.